Dan, the Canadian oil plays took a pause for a while, but you actually think they're now headed upward?
Look, it's been dead money, and we've been real good about staying away from some of these plays. I think a lot of it's psychological. It's kind of hooked into Keystone. A lot of the growth from a lot of these Canadian E&Ps come from oil sands, and whether or not they're going to have pipelines, they're going to have pipelines. They don't need Keystone, but there's some overhang about Keystone with all of them. But that being said, U.S. E&Ps have killed it. We know that. We've been all over them for 2 years. We've made a lot of money in them. And now, when you look at what might be some overvalued U.S. E&Ps and some dead money over the last 2 years in Canadian E&P, you look at some of the margins, some of the costs of oil sands versus, fracked Eagle Ford, shale, or Permian, and you go, you know what? This stuff is starting to look pretty good from a value basis. So yeah, you kind of take a look at some of the Canadian players.
What are your favorites?
My favorite is Synovius. They use a very old technology, probably the oldest, SAGD, steam-assisted gravity drainage. Basically what you do is you take, bitumen is basically like rubbery. It's very, very hard. And you take steam, you pump it underground, and it sort of takes melts the rubberish kind of stuff, and you pull it out with the water, and then you separate it as it comes up. Very old technology. It's used by everybody, but they're really, really, really the best at it that I see. And I think that technology, as old as it is going to come back, particularly when it comes to oil sands, when the optic that you see oil sands is this kind of strip mining that goes on there, and that's very ugly to look at. Whereas Synovius does stuff under the ground, it's not so ugly to look at.
So do these Canadian companies return their cash to shareholders, or do they continue to put it into these kinds of technologies to get the edge?
It's very old school. It's a bit of both. Believe me, the dividends are not going to blow you away.
That's why I'm asking, because in comparison, I'm looking at some of the other names in the U.S. E&Ps, and they're starting to really generate.
Yes, but very old school, very much like the bigger multinationals here in the United States. I wouldn't buy them as a dividend play, but there is a serious turnaround, I think, going on in oil sands. There is going to be growth there, and God, if Keystone gets approved, you want to be in.
Fabulous. Thanks, Dan.